Hey guys, thanks for checking out this video here today. While I've got you here in this intro, and since this is the first video in this series, I wanted to kind of give you some information about what this series is actually going to be about. Basically, I'm a dad. That's what my channel is all about, what we're trying to talk about here. I've got a busy life, crazy, everything going on. We've got 2 kids, wife, all the kind of activities and all that kind of stuff. So I don't get a whole lot of free time during the week, but I like to stay up to date on current events and what's going on in the city, industry, games, politics, all that kind of stuff. So I'm going to try and cover some of that here on a weekly basis if I get time to post them. So these are going to be mainly about game information, automotive information, news, things like that. I've even got some articles that I'm going to try to find new content about the Florida man that's going on in our state. Wonderful state of Florida has got our own domain based on silly things that are happening here. Right, so we're gonna take a look at all that. We're gonna get some feedback. We're gonna post some more articles. Kind of do this, like I said, try to make it on a weekly basis. If you like the content, please send me your articles. I'd like to read them. I'd like to see what's going on in your states or wherever you're from or whatever you got going on, whatever you find interesting. Try to stay up to date on the world as much as I can. So please share content, chat, comment, all that kind of stuff. Right, that's what this is all about. So hope you like the video. Definitely subscribe if you do. I'd love to see you continue to follow me as I continue down this journey and continue to gain more knowledge about everything in the world myself. And with that, we'll go ahead and get into this week's video and kind of see where we go from there. Hey, so everything I'm going to be talking about today here is going to be posted up on this little web browser that I got going on. Basically, so today we've got the Fortnite information going on in the gaming industry. We've got some information about safety standards for autonomous vehicles. I thought was a really cool article, so I want to... it's over here. I keep pointing this way because that's where it is on my monitor, and it kind of throws me off. I need to pay attention to you guys, right? So we got some information about autonomous vehicles. Really cool article I saw about that. We've got some information, Subaru's a big thing for me, right? I love Subaru's, got a couple of them myself. So I've got an article on here about STIs and how it just came out good with Edmunds. So good information for STI owners there. Like I said, Florida man, and we're going to talk about the dad bod craze that's going viral on the internet right now. So let's get started. We're going to hit this Fortnite information and try to see what we got going on. First things first, Fortnite PC requirements. So this does not affect console gamers, mobile gamers, any of those guys like that. This is just strictly related to the PC crew. Information on that is that for Season 10 of Fortnite starting August 1st, I believe the date was, or the close of Season 9 is on August 1st. So sometime in August, I don't know when exactly the season transition occurs, there will be a hard requirement that if your desktop or your computer, your PC version of the game is not running DirectX 11, you will not be able to play the game. DirectX 11 has been a standard for Fortnite for a while. I was reading into this and why they were making this change. Apparently, they've always designed the game to use DX11 as the standard, but they've made it compatible for older PCs since they were trying to branch out and be just all over the market. Fortnite was very successful in that by being multi-platform, multi-console, right? All kinds of things where we're just kind of spread all over the world and all over machines, kind of nation or globally, right? So now they're kind of reeling in the reins a little bit, saying, hey, some of these older machines that are not able to keep up with what we want to do in future design and future graphic requirements for the game, we're going to have to slowly dwindle those down. I don't think this is going to be a major impact for desktop PC players, because it's been DX11's been a standard for quite a few years now, if I'm not mistaken. I mean, DX12 was with Windows 10, right? So this is way back when the DX11 kind of came around. I think Windows XP stopped at 9.0C. 10 was introduced in Windows 7, and then they rolled into 11 from there. Excuse me. But it could impact some of your laptop players. So if you had a really high-end gaming laptop back in the day, you got a mobile graphics chip built into your laptop, and you've been able to play your games pretty strong in the DX11 environment, or DX10 environment, the DX10 environment, then you may be in for a wake-up when it comes into the next season. So if you need to, I definitely would check out that information. There's a DX Diag executable on your machine that you should be able to run. I'm going to try to find an article on how to look up what DirectX version you're running, and I'll post that down in the description of the video so that way you can kind of take a look at that if you need to. If not, then we're going to roll. If all of you guys got DX11 already or higher, 12, whatever you got going on, if all of you are running your 2080 Ti's right now, then you got nothing to worry about there. So let's clear Fortnite, and we'll roll on to this autonomous vehicle discussion. So this was a really interesting article that I saw. I just punched in top automotive news for the week, right? And this was an article that came out, right, 20 hours ago. Are autonomous vehicles really safer than humans? And this, the way they were kind of describing this or explaining the way they were doing these ratings for autonomous vehicles was quite interesting, right? Tesla and these other major autonomous vehicle manufacturers are having these claims that their cars are capable of operating at a much more efficient rate than humans. They're able to cycle their sensors way faster than human brain can. And, you know, as a PC guy, right, I'm not going to disagree with them. I'm not going to say, hey, my brain thinks faster than your computer, because a lot of times it doesn't, right? Let's be honest with ourselves. So if it knows that it's coming in for an accident, it's probably going to brake at a, even at a fraction of a second faster, still is effective, right? In the automotive industry when you're doing 75, 80 miles an hour, right? So these are the kind of things that, you know, they're having these discussions about, not necessarily is it safer in a optimal situation, but what happens when a sensor fails, right? What happens when it doesn't do what it's supposed to do, right? Because now we're talking about autonomy, right? So with that, how are you going to know if that sensor is in operation or not while it's driving down the road? Now you have to have a hard fault on the sensor itself and a software fault knowing that the sensor is operating correctly and things like that. I mean, I work in kind of some engineering professionally and statistics and things like that. So it's a very interesting read for me. And it kind of comes to some good information about how they're going to try to score the safety performance of these vehicles, right? In a normal situation, if I'm going to use Tesla, and I've got nothing against Tesla. I'm just using them as an example because they're the top autonomous vehicle manufacturer in the US right now, right? So I'm going to use Tesla for this example, but I mean no harm to them, right? I'm not trying to say they're not safe. Anyway, if a Tesla vehicle is going down the road, right, and the sensor fails and it's going to just rail into somebody at 50 miles an hour, right? It doesn't know to stop, right? There should be lots of redundancies in there to keep that from happening, but we're talking about worst case scenario here. It's going to rail into somebody at 50 miles an hour and not even attempt to apply the brakes. Whereas a human, not paying attention, could at some point look up, right, and be able to say, oh, I should brake, even though it's going to be late. You know, maybe upon impact, they're only doing 20 miles an hour versus that original 50, right? So from a carnage perspective, which could be safer in the event of an accident or a failure, right? Best case scenario, right? Autonomous vehicles will never get in an accident. So how do you judge worst case scenario when they do, right? So, and then that goes into some more information, how they talk about there's a city in, I believe it was Iowa, further down in the article. I was looking for it earlier, and I know I read it, and then I was looking through it again. I couldn't find it when I read back through it again. But it was talking about how through certain intersections, they were measuring the distance and spacing between different vehicles as they were going through the intersections. And they had cameras set up there, and they were able to measure how fast these cars were going through these intersections and the spacing they were providing with each other. And they were able to predict within some percentage, it was like within 1% or something like that. I was trying to read the study, that they were able to predict that the vehicles, or how many accidents were going to occur within a month, right? How do you do that with autonomous vehicles? If all autonomous vehicles are designed to travel at the same distance all the time, right? And they're always supposed to be 10, 20 feet apart, traveling at 35, 40 miles an hour. How do you predict, based on that kind of information, if an accident's going to occur, how many cars are going to be involved in an accident, things like that, right? It's kind of one of those weird scenarios that they don't really, the autonomous vehicle technology has caught up faster than the statistics that are involved to measure them, and how insurance companies are going to be involved and what's going to happen with all that kind of stuff. So it's going to be a very interesting. Article's a great read. I keep going that way. I apologize. I'm still getting used to this. Article's a great read. There's lots of information in there. I definitely think you should check it out. Read, all the different links that they provide in there is awesome. I mean, it's, if you like statistics and you like information about the automotive industry, this is a good one to check out. Next up on the list, kind of goes after my Subaru family here. Talks about the Subaru WX STI was actually rated in the top 20 vehicles to have the least amount of depreciation year over year. Okay, so that kind of the way that's worded doesn't mean that it's going to have the highest resale value from purchase, but it's going to have the lowest appreciation rate. Okay, that's one of those concepts of playing with numbers, right? And playing with phrases and how to lie to statistics. But it's still a cool thing to hear, right? We've always heard that STI, has been a terrible car as far as value because you drive it off the lot and it's already 10 grand less than what you bought it for. And it's a high performance vehicle, so people don't want to drive them. People don't want to maintain them, all those kinds of things like that. This is actually a cool thing to hear. I read this article listed by Dennis here from Torque News. I read this article and I was like, this guy's being a little aggressive, but at the same time, I kind of agree with him, right? Who cares, right? We're talking about the STI retaining its value, but why do we care, really? I mean, honestly, we're not buying STIs for that reason. We're buying STIs because it's a rally car, right? Its heritage comes from driving in a performance environment, right? Subaru might slowly be getting away from that because of the requirements that are no longer there for them, right? For those who don't know, the STI kind of came around based on the fact that you had to have a production vehicle in order to race it in certain rally environments. So that kind of came about to where they invented the STI and sold it for production just so they could do that, right? And that's kind of how that whole situation came about, and they've carried it on. It's been a great vehicle for them. They've carried on that reputation, and it's been a solid car for a long time. This article could be good news for people who want to lease them, or people, I don't necessarily think leasing, that shouldn't have been the right term, but people who have recently purchased one, but they're not happy with the performance of it, or they want something with higher horsepower numbers or something like that. Maybe the modification situation or the tuning or something is not quite for them. They don't like the all-wheel drive system, all these other kind of things like that, right? I mean, I've heard a few horror stories and things like that. Everybody's got them. Every manufacturer does. So, but that's a cool thing for me, for the STI. I love the car. It's freaking amazing, right? I'm more of a WRX guy myself. I don't own one. Wish I did. But if I did, I'd go for the WRX personally. But this is awesome news for the STI folks. Next thing here, my laughable moment of the week is Florida man hanging out, right? We got Spider-Man hanging out on the roof doing some pressure washing here. And this is just some of the silly stuff that you see on this domain, right? Florida Man, right? For those who are unfamiliar, right, it's just become this huge thing for us in the state of Florida, and actually I think kind of nationwide, right? Like we have these segments on news talk shows and all this kind of stuff about the crazy Florida Man articles that are coming out, right? And different news outlets that are producing these things. So now, if you weren't aware, we have our own floridaman.com domain. And I don't know how old it is. I just found it when I was looking for an article to post for this series here. So I'm going to make sure to make myself familiar with this domain and try to find something to post every week that's kind of silly. But this guy here, blistering heat, I can guarantee that if this was on June 19th, it was probably 100 degrees outside. Either that or it was pouring rain. So one or the other, this guy is up here doing this, and he's got to be miserable while doing it, but he looks great. Right? You got Spider-Man pressure washing your roof. Everybody's laughing. Everybody's having a good time. So this is one of the more fun things. I can imagine kids out there talking about how Spider-Man was up and they got to see him for the day and stuff like that. That's pretty awesome. So props to you, man. This is an awesome thing. Appreciate your hard work there. Last thing I'm going to cover this week is the viral topic that I've seen in the past 7 days, right? It's actually been floating around a little longer than that, but man, in the past week, I just think I've seen it explode, right? And this is this survey that's going on about the whole dad bod fad and how this has been kind of twisted in terms of what attractiveness is for women, right? So I saw this article here, right? I actually saw it posted on my Facebook feed earlier, and then it popped up, a picture popped up on my Instagram feed, and then a picture popped up on a link popped up on my Twitter feed. I mean, it's been just insane for the past week. And I was like, you know what? I got to read this, right? It's just becoming so viral, and there's so much information going out there about it, and people are sharing it like crazy. So I wanted to see what it was all about. And so I got into here, right? And you can see this is just kind of just silly, right? I mean, I'm like I said, I'm a dad. I work a lot. I sleep too little. I eat too much, but I participate in the dad bod environment, but it doesn't necessarily mean I'm happy about it. They kind of spin this to say, right, that, what's it say? 65% said the dad bod is attractive, 61% said the dad bod is sexy, and 51% said the dad bod is the new six-pack. Well, I actually kind of went through and read the article, and that's kind of not what it says. This is another one of those scenarios I personally think is lying with statistics, right? When it was talking about this information, it was talking about, like this some number of women find, I I don't remember seeing the 65% number. I was thinking it was more in the 80s, but the number of women find men more attractive when they're confident about themselves, right? So it wasn't necessarily about the dad bod itself. It was about the confidence of the individual, right? So it kind of went into the environment to say that, where men as a gender, right, are starting to become more confident in themselves, and they're not necessarily so worried about taking their shirts off when they go to the pool, or just being, a loving individual kind of concept, right? You don't always have to be at the gym. You want to spend more time with your family. You want to have life, right? You want to enjoy time. You want to enjoy the environment around you. That's confidence, and that's what women are finding more attractive. So that doesn't necessarily say like right here, right? It says, gentlemen, raise a glass, grab another slice of pizza, and toast to the relatively fit, right? The dad bod, let's be honest, guys, the dad bod is not relatively fit, right? A athletic build would be relatively fit, right? Not slender, not tiny, and trust me, guys, I'm not going after obese people out here. Don't even think that that's what I'm trying to do, right? But, I mean, I know I'm probably 25 pounds more than I need to be, right? And I'm personally, for health reasons, I'm trying to work on that myself right now. So, we're trying to, we need to redefine or come to terms with what relatively fit really means, right, guys? So don't get out of hand. Don't take these articles as, I can do whatever I want and I don't have to worry about my health anymore, right? Always consult your doctor. Always get your tests done. Do what you can, kind of stuff like that. Please don't get crazy, all right? And that's off my soapbox for that article. Golly, I've done it like 10 times this video. It's over here, not over there. That's the end of my soapbox for this week for this article. If you like what I talk about here, or you got an article you want me to read, or you've got something that interests you and you want me to talk about it, or a industry or a field or something like that you want to see some information about, I'll take a look at it. I'll read, I'll give my comments on it, and I'll provide some feedback on what I think and whatnot. If there's anything I talked about today that you agree with or don't agree with or something like that, I'm open for debates or communication or chatting, whatever kind of things like that. If you like the video, please hit subscribe. We'll have some fun. I'll continue to produce these. I apologize. It's really warm in this room today. I don't know what's going on with my air conditioning. But I'll produce some more content. Also down right here right under here, right? I've got my Twitch. You can't see me point any further down. My Twitch, Instagram, Twitter. My Facebook's not on there, but that's all right. I'm not too concerned with Facebook right now, right? Anyways. And if you're watching this video, you already know where my YouTube channel is. So subscribe, like, follow, give me a thumbs up, thumbs down. Tell me what you think. I'm new to content creation, so I'm trying to get my way through this. So as for that, that's basically all I've got this week. Thanks for watching, and let me know what you think. Thanks, guys.